Hello everyone and welcome to a special episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on youtube.com/UC Campbell. I know it's also named channel GodSaw. Things are weird on that one, and we're not really going to worry too much about that today. Really, we're not going to worry about plugging too much of anything, because why is it a special episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle? And why are we live right now? Well, typically when I'm doing the reviews and going through everything and doing the podcast, we do it live, and then it goes up on the air a little bit later. So with that being said, this is a review for WWE Hell in a Cell 2018, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'll be honest with you in a sense of the word while I'm getting some stuff handled for the live stream side of everything here. This was a good show. This was actually a very good show from top to bottom. I really did enjoy this one, and though in the senses of some dodgy finishes to it, I can't really say there was really a bad overall match to the particular show itself. I know other people will have other opinions, everything to go along with it, and everything on that side to go along with everything as well. But as a overall show, this was a very enjoyable show with some really good matches, and to the Hell in a Cell credit, a bit of creativity, especially during the Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton match. We definitely had a decent amount of creativity to go along with that. We will talk about that when we get to the match, and that was probably one of the most squeamish moments of the night. The Roman Reigns Braun Strowman match was pretty much just chaos, especially towards the end. To go along with it, it was pretty much a chaotic style match versus a creative style match in the terms of Hell in a Cell matches. But let's start off with the pre-show, which was the New Day going up against Rusev Day. And well, as per my predictions for most of the night, oops on that one. And then again, when I did my predictions back on Wednesday and released them out to everybody, there was no pre-show matches made, and they decided to put this match on the pre-show versus putting it on the main card. So at that point, I'm like, pretty much New Day's gonna win this one, and we were right about that. But it doesn't stop it from being a really good match. Honestly, very enjoyable match. Everybody kind of putting every bit of effort that they could into this match. Even though on the pre-show they gave it time, and they were telling themselves a compelling story of, you know, Aiden English kind of going crazy throughout the entire match and doing everything he can to prove himself to Rusev and everything to go along with that side, to show that he's like a formidable, like he's, you know, he's someone to be reckoned with in the match. He even pulled off a dive outside to the ring to go along with it. New Day themselves had a very good spot where Kofi did like the double stomp while double stomp off the top rope while Big E held Aiden English up on his shoulders to go along with that. Good spots, good kind of just getting everything across and getting everything that they could out of this match, even though it was on the pre-show itself. This was one of those few times, and every time you've seen, this is the thing though, if you've seen the New Day on the pre-show, they tend to put on really good matches even there, because they recognize it's like, even though this is a it's supposed to be kind of throwaway, it's not throwaway to them. They want to get everybody enthralled and even talking about that. And to be honest with you, this was a very well done match from beginning to end. Yes, New Day does pick up the victory, and I like how they kind of tell the story of you know, Rusev being a little bit miffed that they didn't win, but not being to the point it's like, oh, we're just going to get rid of Aiden English or anything to go along with that. It's showing that that story is going to continue on and continue growing from time for further down the line, instead of it kind of just ending at this point and then going to a point where they're going to feud. So overall, good match. I really did enjoy this one. And it's not often that you really get yourself a pretty good pre-show match to go along with it. But yet here you did. Here you did on this one. So they started off the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view with a Hell in a Cell match, which is kind of, it's par course right now of what they typically do with everything. They do a Hell in a Cell match usually to begin, and then they'll do the final Hell in a Cell match to end the show. So they started off with Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. We'll go off and say that the red cell was a little distracting, but it didn't look as bad as I thought it was going to on that side of everything. And that one, I'm not going to lie. It did not look as bad as I thought it was going to look. Like I said, it was a little distracting, but overall not a bad aesthetic to it. I probably still prefer the typical gray cage for that one, but that's aesthetic to the actual match itself on that side. Now, what Jeff and Randy did was insane. This matchup was just like, it was psychology. They were using portions to the cell, and of course using ladders and tables to go along with it. The spot where Jeff Hardy set up a ladder upside down, but then gets himself suplexed into the middle of the ladder was definitely crazy to go along with that. They were both guys were going through portions of the cage. There was this, and they got a close-up shot of it too. They got a close-up shot of the gash that was in Randy Orton's leg, and it looked like something was just hanging out of it. It was gross, and it wasn't even fully the grossest thing that they did in the entire match itself to go along with it, because towards the end of the match, you have Randy Orton go under the ring, and he gets a screwdriver out. And as you know, he's been doing this thing with the earlobe things, the portion of, I forget what they're called, but the earring style that Jeff Hardy has in there, and it leaves for the bigger hole inside the ear. So he takes those out before the match. And they've been doing that thing where, you know, Randy Orton had been tugging on it, everything to go along with it. This time he takes a screwdriver and puts it into the hole and twists it. He just twists it, and it's like, what? What's going on? Like, just showing that sadistic side, and this was really good. I really liked what they did here in this match. It was showing a very sadistic side of Randy Orton, getting to the point of the finish where Jeff Hardy had finally kind of gotten back. He even had done a swanton bomb off of the ropes onto a steel chair, but Randy Orton had kicked out. He got him on a table and started hanging himself, climbing a ladder, but realized he didn't have the space to do the leapfrog. So instead, he climbs on top of the cell, and by that I mean not like outside the ring, but climbs up there, and this is the spot that we're kind of expecting. He starts swinging off the top of the cell, and then Randy Orton moves, Jeff goes, and right through a table to end the match. Which I kind of like what they did here, because Randy Orton was very adamant on this one, because the referee wanted to stop the match, but Randy Orton's like, dude, this is a no DQ match. This match ends when there's a fall. So as the cell's raising, because they want to get help out there for Jeff, he forces the ref to count the 3 count, so he gets the 3 count and wins the match. Just great match. And that's kind of the beginning of this entire show. Is just great match, great match, great match. They did a really good job with everything here, and the stories that they're trying to tell as well, to go along with it. And of course they do stretch her out, Jeff, afterwards. Overall, great match. We got kind of what we were expecting as well. Jeff was going to do a crazy spot in some way, shape, or form. I guess at least it wasn't a swanton off the top of the cage through an announce table, though I don't know which one would have been worse at this point in time. I really don't know which one would be worse at this point in time, but I guess we didn't get that one where he was not going. I guess in this sense he could be a little bit safer with it. Maybe? I don't know. We just knew we were going to get a crazy spot, which we ended up getting. So this brings us to the SmackDown Women's Title match, and first of all, I do like the factor that even though we started off pretty much with the SmackDown matches, that when the Raw matches were going on, Renee Young kept making mention to that Jeff Hardy Randy Orton match and how just how sickening that match was to go along with it. For that's like little touches for down the road on that one. I did like that aspect on that one because that was a pretty brutal match in the senses of it being, you know, a very good Hell in a Cell match, which I thought tonight's Hell in a Cell matches were pretty good. Definitely really good on the side of Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, we'll get to that. We'll get to that one. But up next was Becky Lynch going up against Charlotte Flair. And this was, again, another really good match. So Becky Lynch... Now, it's very interesting with what they were going with in this entire match because Becky Lynch was continually working over the left arm, the entire match. And, of course, Charlotte having to fight back out of that to go along with it. And Becky trying to lock the disarmer in, but failing on many different senses of that to go along with that. It was a good back and forth between the two of them. And it was an extremely enjoyable match. And again, there was a lot of rumors going into this one that they were going to do some kind of double turn or anything to go along with that. And because technically Becky's the heel, though she's getting massively cheered. And Charlotte would be technically the babyface based off of what they had done initially. Though she was kind of getting booed, not like heavily booed, not Roman Reigns level style of booed on that one, at least for a census for a period of time, a long time ago. But they told themselves a good story in this match, and I thought that was the thing about these matches, is that they told themselves very, very good stories throughout the entire throughout the entire show as a whole. And that's how I came out as a very enjoyable show on my side of it, on my side for that one. This match in particular, like I said, Becky working over the arm, Charlotte having to fight back out of that, and looking like she had finally done so. And she goes for a spear, and I guess it gets reversed into a DDT. This one was a little bit awkward on that one, but it looked like Becky reverses a spear into a DDT, which allows her to get the pin. So she had worked over the arm the entire time, but doesn't really get anything with the disarmer, but she catches Charlotte trying to spear her and hits the DDT to pick up the victory and pick up the SmackDown Women's title. Very good match. Like I said, they told themselves a very good story throughout this entire match to go along with it. And they told themselves a continuing story throughout the end to go along with that as well. So after the match, Charlotte goes to shake Becky's hand and raise her hand, but Becky just holds the title up in her face, gloating that you're not going to take my moment, and refuses the shake her hand. I thought that was some good stuff there, and they definitely did. They did really good on those particular ones. So overall, like I said, start off the show, really good matches. Really good to great matches. And then they just continued. So you had Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre going up against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and another really good match. Just this one had the frenetic pace that a lot of people kind of really liked during these during this time. And they do have the near falls and everything to go along with it. And that was what you were getting with this match. It was a very fast paced, and the pace just kept growing and growing. Even with Dean Ambrose in there, the pace kept, you know, going faster and faster and faster. And they did do the psychology of Seth taking the beating, trying to get this Dean, but can't make the tag. Eventually does the hot tag, everything to go along with that. Just good. They did do a bunch of good reversals, a lot of simultaneous pinfalls to go along with that, where I think we had probably about like 5 2 counts within about a 30-second time frame to go along with it. And I liked how Dolph looked like he was going for, I think it was a zigzag at one point, but gets reversed, and then Seth does a Falcon Arrow to him. Just really good stuff throughout the entire match. Like the whole aspect of Seth does the suicide dive but gets caught, but then Dean does it and takes out all three of them on that side of everything. Just really good stuff. And the finish that they came up with for this match was amazing. I loved it. So, as we all know, Seth Rollins does the superplex into the Falcon's Arrow. So he gets the superplex, rolls through the go for the Falcon's Arrow, but as he's doing that, Drew meets him and does the Claymore kick to Seth Rollins, and then Dolph just drapes his arm over to pick up the victory. Well done. Well done. And yeah, that was a very well done match. The first three matches I would definitely say were on the great side. They were some of the matches afterwards, they were more storyline based, though you can even really say that based around the Becky Lynch Charlotte Flair match, that was more storyline based as well. But they definitely slowed down the pace for the vast majority of the final matches for the night. So let's bring us into that, which is going to be AJ Styles going up against Samoa Joe. Again, this was more of a storyline based, slower paced style match, though though AJ would pick up the pace from time to time to go along with it. In the terms of like crazy spots, they weren't necessarily doing that throughout this entire match. On that one, it was just good solid wrestling and good solid storytelling going throughout the entire match to go along with that. AJ Styles hitting the phenomenal forearm, but continually getting stopped and bumping like a madman for everything Samoa Joe would do to make him look great. When he would hit a clothesline, he would get flipped. Everything I thought was really good about this match, and I like the aspect of them coming up with a dodgy finish to kind of keep the feud going, which actually, instead of it having a dodgy finish where we get a double count out or a double DQ or something on that side, we got a winner. But did we really get a winner on that one? So towards the end of the match, Samoa Joe locks in the Coquina Clutch, and when he locks in the Coquina Clutch, AJ Styles rolls through. The referee is on one side and he counts the 3 count, which we don't see afterwards, but Samoa Joe's going crazy. He's saying that AJ tapped out, everything on that side of it. So they eventually do show a camera angle that shows before the 3 count, AJ Styles tapped out to kind of keep the feud going, which we saw something later in the show with Paige and Samoa Joe and the referee to go along with it. So we did get that one, and they did confirm that there was going to be another match at the Super Showdown show in Australia, and it looks like it's going to be a no DQ, no count out style match, which really wouldn't stop this finish from not happening again on that one to go along with it. So that's kind of interesting that they would go that route on that side. But they say there must be a winner, everything to go along with that. I thought this was great. I thought it was good storytelling in a good way to give yourself a winner in the match, but to not really. It was dodgy, but it was. But you did get kind of a winner to go along with it. So AJ Styles technically wins the match, but Samoa Joe really did win the match to go along with it. So they do keep that feud going on. I actually did like this. And like I said, I thought it was a good way of continuing everything without necessarily, it's like, oh, it's another DQ finish, blah, 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 blah. You did get the dodgy finish, but it was done better than typical dodgy finishes. So let's bring this to The Miz and Maurice going up against Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. Again, I thought this is a good way of going and good storytelling with what they've been going for. So the vast majority of this match was done by Miz and Daniel Bryan. So whenever Maurice was going to get into the ring and Brie Bella wanted to get to Maurice, Maurice would just tag out or dodge duck and dodging throughout the entire time. And of course, you got the great spot in there where Brie starts punching at the Miz to go along with it inside of there. But the vast majority of the match is done by Miz and Daniel Bryan. Some really good stuff. I thought some good stuff here, and this is a good way of kind of telling the story. A lot of people kind of thought that this was going to be, and me myself as well, thought this would be the spot where Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella kind of win. They get there, they get a little bit of revenge going forward, but it looks like they're going with the storyline, and I kind of like they're going this route. I kind of like that they're going this route on there of Miz and Maurice are getting one up on Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. So Miz is always getting one up on Daniel Bryan going forward, where Daniel Bryan's never technically going to beat out the Miz until he actually does. As Batman is joining into the chat here. I'm sorry I missed out on the live reactions, but I kind of I didn't really lose track of time. It was just like, did I really want to do it? And then I didn't really want to. So, unfortunately, I didn't do live reactions to the actual show. I wanted to, but I ended up not. But we, of course, coming here to do the review. As, yes, the legend, the Batman, has joined into the chat. And, like I said, I like where they're going with this. And I like this whole aspect of Daniel Bryan never getting one up over the Miz. This case, Maurice reversed the pinfall attempt and gets a pinfall on Brie Bella. So now Brie Bella is like kind of distraught to go along with it, that she felt like, you know, that this was kind of supposed to be their moment, but it ends up not being their moment until, I guess, somewhere down the line. I don't know exactly how far along that's going to be, but they're going to eventually get, Daniel Bryan will eventually get his win over the Miz and everything to go along with that. Overall, I thought it was a I thought this was a pretty good match to go along with it. It's kind of continuing on that story of, even though Daniel Bryan is probably better technically than the Miz, Miz always finds a way to get one up on Daniel Bryan to go along with it. So, this brings us to the Ronda Rousey-Alexa Bliss match for the Raw Women's title. Again, I thought this was a good match. I actually thought this was a good match. This, again, was slower paced. And many people do know that in the terms of match quality and in the terms of storytelling in the ring, I don't think Alexa Bliss is all that great. But this was well done. They set up the story throughout the entire weeks of the potential rib injury, and they had Alexa Bliss exploit it as much as possible throughout the match. And of course, with a little bit of interference from Mickie James and Alicia Fox and everything to go along with that, instead of it being a squash like it was at SummerSlam, it was more of a competitive match. They were telling us a different story than what we had gotten at SummerSlam, which it didn't necessarily need to be the same thing. This was like my biggest pet peeve with the Alexa Bliss Nia Jax matches. I thought the WrestleMania match was good, but like they needed to tell a different story, but they told the same story at the Backlash match. This time they were telling themselves a different story of Ronda having to try to fight out of the rib injury throughout the entire match, and I thought they did a very good job at this one. I have kind of read around that people did not necessarily care for this match all that much, or that they didn't find it very believable. This is like one of the few times that I would disagree. That was always been my biggest complaint about Alexa Bliss, is that I don't find her offense believable. But I found this match more believable than most of her other ones, due to the factor of Mickie James and Alicia Fox being there. Obviously, Natalya was around as well, and they did their shenanigans outside the ring towards the end as well. But I found this match, oddly enough, to be more believable because they set up the rib injury, so it gave a target for Alexa Bliss to go through, and she exploited it throughout the match. I thought this was well done. I thought this was well done. And of course, towards the end of the match, eventually Ronda Rousey does get full control of the match again. Hits the that spinning. I don't know what the throw is called in judo, but it looks like a spinning Samoan drop for wrestling fans, but it has an actual name on judo side. And then applies the armbar to pick up the victory. It's always very interesting, and I actually get why they end up doing it this way. I really do. It always looks like whenever you see Ronda Rousey do the armbar, it does the arm does not get fully extended, anything on that one, because they're going for the other visual of her just dropping down to wrench in the armbar. If she actually did have full extension, like some other people typically do for those particular moves, if she had full extension and did that, we would probably already have a lot of broken arms, legit broken arms to go along with it. So I kind of get why the arm is usually bent on that one, on that particular side of everything. Overall, I thought this was good. And like I said, I'm not the biggest Alexa Bliss fan, but I thought she did really good in this match. And I thought Ronda did very well in her selling and did very well in this match in general. I thought this was good. I thought it was actually kind of good. I thought they told themselves in this match a very good story on every side of that. So this brings us to Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. So where the other Hell in a Cell match was kind of telling us a story of creativity with doing their stuff and psychology inside of the ring and the cell, this one, especially at the end, was just a cluster. This was a cluster of everything. They did do your typical spots inside of the cell, of course, bringing in tables and bringing in the stairs. I thought that they did a really good spot where Strowman was on the outside of the ring. Roman looked like he was going to do a charge around the ring to do a spear, but he runs into the stair. But Strowman throws the stairs at him and then nails him with some stairs in the ring again to go along with it. I thought that was really good. Strowman getting speared through the table inside the ring, I thought was really good as well. To go along with it, they played off of the whole aspect of Foley, like, almost getting 3 counts, so he was kind of or like Strowman was almost getting the 3 counts, so he was getting really angry at Foley but wasn't really doing anything to Foley. To go along with that, they played off of everything really well. Things decided to go crazy towards the end of the match, though, because towards the end of the match, and this is, I think I posted it, it's like, hey, in the end, take a look, Roman and Braun, like, just for a good like 5 minutes or something like that, were down in the ring. It could have been longer too. They were just down in the ring as everything on the outside was happening, like, to go along with this, and almost to a point it's like, is there a match still going on? Was there a match still going on? Because Dolph and Drew come out to try to get themselves into the cage. Now they don't get themselves too close to the door, and you'll find out why later. To go along with it, so they try to keep themselves away from the door, while they're doing, or they're trying to get themselves in. While that's happening, Dean and Seth come out. They start brawling all over the place on the outside of the ring, everything to go along with it. On that side, they go over to the announce table side. It looks like they're clearing off the announce tables to do their spot, everything to go along with that. So Dolph gets the grand idea. I need to get away from Seth Rollins. What am I going to do? I'm going to climb the cage. I'm just going to climb all the way to the top as Seth Rollins follows him. And by the way, if you really want to take a look at it, I didn't like the ending either. And trust me, I'll get to it. And we'll just leave it at this. You don't want to try to race Seth Rollins up that cage, because he is by far the fastest one getting up the cell cage. Because he just flies up it. So you're not getting away from him. Drew follows, and they're doing they're doing all their stuff up there. So eventually Dean has his kendo stick on his back as well, to get up there, and they're all brawling on the cell. Now Dean and Drew end out staying on top of the cell. They're brawling up there. They have everything going down, and then Dolph and Seth start climbing down. They're brawling on the side of the cage, and then of course they did the spot that Seth and Dean had done a while back, but I think they did it up from a little bit higher this time, where both of them get themselves knocked off and they fall through the tables. So chaos is just ensuing everywhere but in the ring, where the match is supposed to be going on. Like I said, I enjoyed the match and I enjoyed the chaos. I hated the finish. I hate the finish of this match, because the chaos is going on, and of course the chaos continues, because lo and behold, whose music hits? Brock Lesnar's. Now, there was rumor that he was backstage going on and everything to go along with this, and his music hits, and I love this one. So you have during the first cell match, we'll go way back to 1997 on this one, with the first Hell in a Cell match, when Kane debuted. What did Kane do? He ripped the door off the hinges. It was great. It was great stuff. What does Brock do? He kicks it. He kicks the door off his hinges as people was like, you can't get in there, you can't get in there. He just kicks the door off its hinges, and he posted up on the actual ring ropes and climbs up there to get in the ring. I thought that was great. And instead of just going after one person, he just lays out both Strowman and Roman with the table, like the broken table. He was just taking the pieces and swinging it and breaking off more pieces and continually using the smaller pieces until it was too small to swing at people. F5s both Strowman. He F5 Strowman first, and then he F5s Roman on top of Strowman, which I thought that was going to be the ending. That you would get a pinfall that way, but that wasn't going to be it. As this is all happening, Paul Heyman maces Mick Foley, so taking him out of the picture to go along with this. So what does the referee do? The new referee, when he gets out there, finally, after all this carnage has happened, reminder, this is a Hell in a Cell match. This is a Hell in a Cell match. It's supposed to have winners, regardless. So it's not supposed to be stopped. What does the referee do? He waves it off. He waves off the match, and that's how they end it. I thought it was definitely the weakest way that they could have gone about doing this. Yes, technically no one lost on this one, so Strowman still technically has a claim to having a Universal title shot somewhere down the line, but for the stipulation of the match and everything to go along with that, and I don't know if they've ever done that for a Hell in a Cell match where they've just ended it without a pinfall or submission, but it just came off weak on that side of everything. Especially, it would have been better if both of them were still laid out, like not moving, but both of them were stirring at the time that it was called, that they were trying to get up to go along with it. It didn't work for me. I appreciated the rest of this match. The ending was garbage. The ending was garbage. And by that, I mean the waving off of the match itself. I appreciated the chaos. Brock Lesnar kicking the door off of his hinges. The everything with the brawling between Seth, Dean, and Drew and Dolph. All that stuff, the match itself inside the ring and inside the cell was really good to go along with it. It was just the finish that didn't work. There should have been a winner. There still should have been a winner. to go along with that. Because in accordance with the stipulation, the match is only supposed to end with a pinfall or a submission, and that's it. Or I guess they could play it where, no, always pinfall or submission. I mean, you even saw earlier in the show that the match had to end. Even though the referee was saying, hey, we need a stretcher out here, raise the cell. No, the match has to end with pinfall or submission. And they decided to go this route. And then, of course, they fade into the Mick Foley stand-up, which I ended up watching, by the way. That's why I'm a little bit later getting live than I was kind of expecting. I was kind of expecting to go live at about 8:15 my time with everything, when I had everything set up. But I ended up watching that Mick Foley stand-up, and that was great. His stand-up's really good. To go along with that. So big ups to that one. I'm kind of glad I ended up watching that all the way through as well afterwards. But overall, this was a really good show. Like, even with the dodgy finish at the end, that I appreciated the dodgy finish inside of the AJ Styles Samoa Joe match. I did appreciate that one, but I didn't really like that last one. But like the carnage and everything that they were doing throughout the entire match, I thought was great. They did a good job on all sides on that one to go along with it. But overall, this was still a really good show. And it was a very enjoyable show from beginning to end. They were telling themselves different style of stories for each of the matches, especially you're getting rematches from SummerSlam to go along with it. You were getting that in the Samoa Joe AJ Styles match, that they were kind of telling a different story to go along with that. And then, of course, the ending of that one where you think you get a winner, but you don't get a winner type of thing. Though, technically, they do call AJ Styles the winner of the match, but he did tap out to go along with it. I like this. I liked what they did here. The Charlotte Becky stuff I thought was good. The factor that they didn't go for the double turn on this one, I thought was a very good way of going. They still tried to paint Charlotte as a babyface, and then kind of Becky Lynch as that in between. She's doing heelish things, but she's kind of doing cool things to go along with it. On that one. So you didn't get the technical double turn to go along with it on that side. Both of them still have legitimate claims to their story on that one, and maybe they can set up the double turn somewhere down the line. Maybe that was what this match was doing, was setting up that double turn down the road instead of right here tonight. To go along with that, I thought Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss was actually very good on that side of everything. The Raw Tag Team title match was really good. The SmackDown Tag Team title match was really good. Everything was really good. Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, really good. They came up with creative stuff to use in the cell to go along with it. I enjoyed the show. Yes, the finish to the final match was kind of lame, but it is what it is. I can't necessarily knock it to say, oh, this is a bad show only because one match didn't have the proper finish. Because even the stuff even up to the proper to the finish that they had was still good inside of that match. I'm not going to knock the show for having that kind of a lame finish to go along with it. So overall, Hell in the Cell was a very, very, very good show. Very enjoyable show. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy watching the entire thing. It did not actually feel like the close to 4 hours that it actually was. From main show start to end. It looked like they gave everything time. They gave all the matches time to breathe and do what they needed to do and get the video packages out there and everything. And it was just an enjoyable show. It really was. So that's basically everything I've got for Hell in the Cell. I would love to say it's like, oh, this was a crap show for people who don't want WWE to have good shows, but guess what? This one was. If you want to hear me complain about anything WWE side, just wait for me to ever talk about Raw, because even though Raw side is very good in the terms of their matches on pay-per-view, sometimes Raw itself is not so great to go along with that. But it seems like WWE has kind of gotten this whole point of, yeah, the weekly shows aren't very good, but the monthly shows, these pay-per-views, they're pretty top-notch. They're pretty good with everything that they're doing. They're bringing out everything for those particular style of shows. So, with that being said, like I said, that's all I've got for Hell in a Cell this time around. It was a very good show. I'll give that to you for the aspect of the ending. I did enjoy the other stuff, but then again, I also do enjoy like the crazy, chaotic nature of that match with what they did. But the ending itself was lame. Calling the match off was lame. That one I'll give you, Batman. I'll definitely give you that one on that side. But yeah, with that being said, that's pretty much everything I got. Like I said before, for people who tuned in live, I thank you for tuning in live here as I'm kind of setting up everything to go off the air. And yeah, with that being said, we will be back next week with another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. Hopefully I don't miss out on a week again. And we'll have a few other things going down as well. I don't know. It's about 10 o'clock my time. I don't think I'm going to go live on Twitch with gameplay. But I do expect to, for purposes of continuing things for programming side, I am going to probably continue my Shadow of the Tomb Raider playthrough here very soon as well. Maybe you even get to see that up here on the channel to go along with that. I do have to sit back and decide how I'm going to edit everything on that side as well. And by edit, I mean by how much time each part would be. Yes, it will be same bat time, same bat channel. And yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. But if you see the Shadow of the Tomb Raider playthrough on here, you'll get every death, you'll get every success, and you'll get every failure all the way through. That's how I do playthroughs. You get everything. You don't just get parts. You just don't get little snippets of it and little highlights of it. You get everything to go along with it. So, with that being said, I thank you guys for tuning in, for who tuned in live here. Batman is, of course, joining in on the chat to go along with that. For people who are watching this later, I thank you guys for tuning in as well. We will be back next week with another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle on Sunday, probably as well. And with that being said, peace out, take care, and have a great rest of your evening.